a higher ranking male has more direct access to resources, that being food or females to mate with. And of course, if you have more direct access to females to mate with, then you're going to sire more offspring, and that is going to enhance your fitness. So ultimately, dominance rank is about access to resources. And for the males, this is very important because how much their genetic information is passed on to the next generation depends on how much offspring they sire, which depends on how many females they mate with. And to get to that point, a central position in the network and a higher rank position really helps. I work with the adult males. I'm looking at what they look at within the group. I'm trying to get levels for each adult male of social attention, of how much they look at other monkeys in their group and which monkeys they look at. Overall, we want to then link these different levels of social attention to that individual's social skills. So for example, if one of my males looks a lot at what everyone else is doing, then I want to see if that is connected to him being better in social situations than monkeys that don't look at what other monkeys are doing. To see if this is how they're obtaining important information and how they use it socially. Usually this type of research where you follow the gaze, so you track the gaze of human or of an animal, you usually do that in the lab where everything is very controlled and you can count exactly for how many seconds they deviated their looks or their gaze at a specific target that is usually predetermined and controlled. And of course in the forest we can't do that. So the methodology that I'm implementing in the field, it's very hard because it's all very subtle interactions that I have to be very quick at picking up. And from a very subtle interaction, I have to be able to get timestamps and duration of looks and who was involved and what were they looking at, and I think that's the most difficult. I think in general it's very intuitive for human beings to want to study something that somewhat resembles them and that you can look at them and you see similarities to you, your fellow humans, and I think it's just naturally instinctive to be interested in monkeys. I'm working on social attention, like I said, so I want to see if these adult males are interested in what's going on in the group around them and what their friends do with their monkeys in the group. And I want to be able to link this with how well they do in the group. So I want to see if these males that look more or less at other monkeys, if they become more or less successful within the group. This topic is important because these monkeys are dealing with very complex situations out there. Like we look at them and it feels like they're not doing much, but at all times they might be vigilant about something. If you're a low-ranking male, you have to be aware that your alpha might come and attack you, and so there's a lot to absorb from what's going on around you, and you have to select what information is most important to you, because by looking at something, that means you're not looking at something else that is occurring. So that should mean that this something you're looking at is more important than whatever it is that's going on in the back that you decided not to look at. And this, of course, tells us a bit about their social cognitive skills. And in the end, optimally, once we understand a bit better how they process and use all of the social information, we can do comparative studies between species with other species of monkeys or even with humans, because of course we humans also constantly observe, right? We're observers by nature, and it's important to be a good observer, and you can make use of it. And this is what we're trying to understand how these monkeys do. I really like Bobby. He's not doing so well. He struggles a bit, but I think he'll get better with time. I like E.T., who is Bobby's brother, and I also like Babylon, but I think he's smart. You accept strangers. So you accept that there's people in the street that you don't know, but you know they're humans, and in that sense you're probably not going to look too much at them. And that's something that's different from these monkeys, because usually if they see another monkey of the same species, they're going to run away with their group or they're going to fight them. Within the group, for these monkeys, I would say that looking at determined other monkey has higher costs than for humans. If you decide to stare at a stranger in the street, or even at your friend or at your boss, probably not much is going to happen to you. But for these monkeys, it might have costs. So if I stare too much as a lower ranking male to a higher ranking male, maybe they're going to come in and assert their dominance again, because maybe they're going to think that's outrageous that I'm looking at them. Maybe they're going to attack me. And at the same time, if I don't look at a fight, it could be more costly than what it would be for humans, because if I don't look, maybe I don't avoid the fight spilling over onto me, and then maybe I get wounded. So yeah, there's definitely different levels. The similarities, I think, would be that social information is definitely important for both. Like as humans, we look at our peers and at the people around us, and we look and we can interpret their looks too. So we can understand if something is wrong, if there's tension, if there's happiness, and that's important to us. That's information that helps us to understand what's going on and how to act accordingly. And for these monkeys, it's definitely the same thing. They need this information, and what I'm trying to understand is, what is it about the information that makes it valuable, and how and what they make of it. It's the first species of macaque I've worked with. I think they perform very interesting coalitionary behaviors. So the males especially, they perform very complex coalitions, and they do these check looks where they recruit partners that are around to help them in fights. And I think this is very interesting. I also think it's very interesting the buffer behavior that they do with the babies. When they take a baby to put in between two males, kind of ease the tension, because there's so much tension that if you don't put a baby in front of you, then something will happen. By working with social attention, I also have to pay a lot of attention to their vigilance behavior. So how much they scan their environment. And I think that's very interesting. I would like to understand better what they conceive as a threat, like what do they think is threatening and what makes them vigilant. It's very hard for an observer to tell sometimes, because you don't have the same viewing capacity as the monkeys, and you don't necessarily feel the same things that may be in the forest that they feel. So how this entire thing is processed, for example, how they decide that they're gonna run away from an elephant, or how they decide what's the safest place to sleep, and so on. So that entire process is interesting to me. If these monkeys live by some sort of rule, so what you would call a social norm, I've always wondered if this is something we can find in non-human primates, because of course sometimes they react to, like, from one another in ways that we think are nonsensical, or that you don't really understand why they just went there and slapped that other monkey. But maybe there is some sort of social norm system that we are not aware of, that told that monkey that the other monkey was doing something weird and needed to be corrected. I think social norms in non-human primates is a cool idea. I don't know if they exist per se in this macaque species, but I think that would be cool